There we are. It takes me a little bit to figure this thing out, Ryan. I mean, I'm learning. I'm doing the best I can. Like I said, these boys do all right. If it wasn't for them, it'd be a mess. So here we are back. Our next session, I'm live here with Ryan Eubanks. I think the schedule might have showed Malcolm, but Ryan's a much better guest to have here. He's got more knowledge. He's been doing it a long time. I'm just heckling Malcolm. Malcolm's heavily involved as well.
That's right. Malcolm's a great guy.
But it's a great opportunity to have you here, Ryan. I'm glad you're here. We've been friends for a long time.
That's right.
And we've talked about, throughout the conference about the networking and friendships that you make. But so it's a pleasure to have you on here. And to me, one of the things that I really like to talk about and hear y'all talk about and brag on, because what y'all do for the kids that have been injured and in our state. And I don't know if you take any from any other state. It might have been on the border. I don't know how y'all do that, but I know that we're going to talk about today how what we do for them has expanded.
Yep.
So the level of service provided by you and your team and the camp and everything that we do. So like I said, a pleasure to have you on here. So we're going to get into talking about the camp. So I want you to kind of tell everybody that back home that's listening or will be listening later, kind of what your role is.
Okay. So I'm Ryan Eubanks. I'm the board chair for the South Carolina Burn Children's Fund. Those that don't know about the Burn Children's Fund, the fund was started in 1996 when South Carolina's firefighters and MUSC's Children's Hospital, they decided that there needed to be a program for burn children in the state. And so we started that in 96, and it's been going strong ever since then. I think this is our 26th camp we're about to have. We host a camp, an annual summer camp every year known as Camp Can Do. So the fund is basically firefighters from across the state do different fundraising opportunities. The majority of our fundraising is done through aluminum can collection trailers located at fire stations all throughout the state. That money goes into the fund, which is now held at the at the South Carolina Firefighters Foundation. We were at MUSC's foundation, but we've separated from them recently. So the fund generates a pool of money, and then our flagship program is Camp Can Do. So every year, number 26 coming on, we host a week-long summer camp for children that have sustained burn injury in South Carolina. Mm-hmm. So now they could be seen at any burn facility, but if they're a resident of South Carolina, either at the time of burn or after the fact, they're welcome to come to our camp, and that's for ages 6 to 17.
So from 1996 until last year, or is this going to be the first year?
We've had camp 26 times since 1996. So recently, for 25 of those years, we had our camp at Camp St. Christopher, which is out on Seabrook Island near Charleston. So one of the things that the board has seen across time is that we wanted to make sure that we became more central to the state, try to meet that mission of gathering all the children of the state and have them to have an opportunity to come to camp. So this year we have a new camp partner at Camp Cole, which is in Eastover, right outside of Columbia, right beside McEntire Air Base. And we'll host our camp there July 8th through the 12th.
Now, so for years that it was in Seabrook, Seabrook was very good to you.
Correct.
And the kids had a great time there. But like you said, to get somebody from Anderson County to Charleston wasn't always easy.
Yeah, it was hard. So a lot of the kids that we have, they don't necessarily come from the best home opportunities. So we use firefighters and nurses and all kinds of volunteers from all over the state, a lot of times to help facilitate transport from campers all over the state. So one of the desires across time, and timing was just good with our separation from the MUSC Foundation, to find a more central location in the state. That way, just the logistics of facilitating getting the kids to camp in a central location made it all better. So
a couple of things that I want to touch on. I think every community sees either a fire station in your area that has the trailer that's collecting cans.
Yep.
And not everybody knows where that money's going.
Yep.
And a lot of times I think people, and if you're drinking 10 cases a week of cans,
yep,
you put them somewhere good.
That's right.
So I think a lot of people are just putting them in their recycling.
Yep.
When we're missing a great opportunity to just it's probably a 2-minute ride to your firehouse to go ahead and just put those cans in there and know that you're giving back to something good, because we're going to talk about the things y'all provide for these campers.
Yeah. So related to the can trailers real quick, we have a good map up and running, so you can go to our website, scbcf.org. or if you're here at conference, you can stop by our booth. 3606 is our booth number. We have a map there, so you can find the closest can trailer to you. And also on our website, you can also request a can trailer to come to your fire station. And we have started moving out into the corporate world, so a lot of like industrial parks and corporate places are wanting to work on their green initiatives and try to make good on the recycling stuff that they have. So we're trying to move into those areas as well.
So as a executive committee member for many years, it's like we always at least did a day at Seabrook Island.
Yep.
And you would kind of see that day what y'all were doing.
Yep.
That didn't even scratch the surface until I became one of the drivers for a burn guy, a kid in my area, for him to tell me his experience at the camp.
Yep.
And how open he was and excited he was the whole ride up to be back at camp.
Yep.
And what that means to him to be with kids that have similar injuries, because depending on where the injury is, it can be tough in elementary school and being young and not anything that makes you not the same is tough.
That's right.
But you know, my guy, and I was worried about him being shy on the ride. Well, he didn't shut up the whole ride.
Yep.
And he told us all about the camp. He told us about, you know, the things you do, because y'all did a, I don't want to say a test, but y'all did, y'all had an event at Camp Cole, kind of a precursor to camp, earlier this year to kind of feel out the camp.
Well, one of the things we recognize across time, and as population is changing, society is changing, you know, there are less and less children that go to summer camp. You know, I went to summer camp when I was a child, but that's becoming less and less. So one of the things we did, we had a camp preview weekend this year where we could try to get their families and their whole family groups there, whatever extensions they wanted to bring, whoever their support network is, and try to get them to camp to see where camp is going to be, help understand what we do at camp, help understand the things we do outside of camp, that we could really be beneficial and helpful to the child as they're trying to recover, because it's not just their child, their whole family group is impacted by that. So to try to help them all recover at a faster pace.
Now, so how many kids do we have on average at camp?
Well, we've typically hover around the 30 range. You know, COVID kind of changed the world. We did a few years where we didn't have camp because of COVID. I think we were at 20 the first year after. We were at like 22 last year. I think we're set to be like 34 or 35 this year. So camper numbers are coming back, but I think some of our initiatives to spread our work, to make us more centric to the state, I think that's helping gather our campers as well. So,
yeah, so... And it may be like this in other districts. I think that if you're involved in that call, you're very aware that there is an injury in your area and this kid would go to the camp. Yep. But sometimes they move into your area from somewhere else, and that's kind of so we didn't really know until we got a phone call. Hey, we got a guy coming to camp, but. I don't know that what the local needs to do, because I think that needs to be by y'all. I don't think the local needs to get involved to try and talk them into camp, but we can push them to y'all, because y'all have the counselors that can have those discussions when you can do it way better than I can.
That's right. Well, one of the things we try to do, we try to work with the schools, the school nurses, school counselors, school resource officers, the nurses in the hospitals and care providers. You know, we try to create a whole network of support for these people, because, you know, relationships are all different. And I know we talk about relationships all the time, but, you know, it depends on each family dynamic, which relationship may be the relationship that is able to get the kid to camp and get them plugged into the support we have to offer them. Sometimes it is the fire department. Sometimes it is local fire service. So, you know, they may have a good connection, or they may remember that the fire department responded. It may have been another fire department, but they still may have a strong connection to the fire service. So we utilize all of the avenues that we can to develop relationships and to help support the children. And yes, usually, I mean, sometimes typically we do reach back to fire departments, try to find the right players and say, hey, you know, you've got somebody in your area, or they became burned in your area. Hey, can you reach out, or can we support you, or can you get this information to them? Because a lot of times it's just making the initial connection. And once you plug together, you know, you go from there.
And I think it's easier if I was on the call, or my department was on the call, so I can kind of build that relationship. In this case, it was a little harder, and actually y'all helped build the relationship between me and the guy, and
That's
so
right.
Now I'm his driver. You know, I'm
That's
his guy. And when I, you know, run a call near his house, I stop in.
That's right.
But that came through y'all, and sometimes that's going to be the way it happens.
Well, and that's the kind of relationship we want. We want those good, strong connections across as much of their life as they're willing, to stay connected to us, because we have so many campers now that have been through camp and are now they're on like their own little community ambassadors, and they continue to come back to camp, and they're traveling into the schools, and they're really trying to help these younger children as they receive their burn injuries, to say, hey, there is hope in this, there is a way through this, there are people that are willing to help you. So it's working out really well.
Well, and so I was self-aware to know that I'm no longer the young cool guy, and that happened like overnight. It's like, I'm not that cool. So what I did was, my son went with me.
Yep.
And just so I didn't want my camper to be uncomfortable on the ride, but he wasn't uncomfortable at all. But my son was able to go with him, and they kind of built a relationship on the ride too. So that was good.
Yep, that's good. Well, and we do the same thing at camp. Obviously I'm in my 50s now, and we're same thing as our board and our camp people. We're trying to always succession plan as well. We're trying to find that new generation of people that's out there that wants to keep carrying this torch for us. So if you're out there and you want to be involved, hey, come see us at our booth, find us online, find us how you can. We'd love to have your help.
Well, and so you keep using the word support, which is extremely important, because when you say summer camp, you're thinking about maybe one you went to as a kid, or one you saw on TV at Camp Winnebago, or whatever they have on, wherever. But there is a huge support component of this, that more is offered in these camps than just the fun activities.
Correct. So the camp is really just our flagship. It takes up the largest portion of our budget, and that is really the fun piece. It's where they get to connect with a peer group that's similar, but there's also plenty of work we do in the background. We offer psychological support through their home support networks at their schools, to try to, if they need psychological help, to get them back into the flow. Just this morning I approved some expenditures on some medical garments that, insurance was paying this much. They didn't have the money to cover the rest, so, we covered the rest of that expense for that family. So we do things like that all the time. We buy gift cards for fuel, help support with, lodging and food, just whatever they need to help work through the process. Because sometimes burn care, it's not that I show up at the hospital one day. Some of these things are weeks, months, years to get them to a better spot where they're not having to see a clinician regularly. Multiple surgeries, lots of grafting. So some of them are very in depth, and we'll support them all across that time as best we can. So,
well, and so when we think a child that's burned and he's going to camp, in our mind, I think we always process it as, oh, they must have had a house fire.
Nope.
That's not the case. Some of these injuries from some of these kids were intentional.
Well,
so there's a lot more to work through.
That's right. Some of them were intentional. I can tell you right now, and it's really kind of a blind spot, even in the fire service, when you look at some of the messaging we do in our CRR work, and I'm not saying it's our fault. I think our organization is trying to help spread that message, but when you look at the pediatric burns right now in South Carolina, kind of our data is around 70% are really scald burns. Most of it's coming from the microwave. So they're taking hot food out of the microwave and burning their hands, or burning their face, or burning their chest. So, and then we have data that directly supports that when the microwave went from a countertop appliance to an over-the-stove appliance, all of that changed. So when it was countertop height, they could take the hot food out and set it straight on the countertop. Now that they're reaching up over their heads, a lot of times they're putting hot food on their hands or hot food on their chest. They're dropping it because the food's hot. So a lot of that's in our education. I think CRR at the fire departments on the local level can help educate that. On the state level with State Fire, I think we can get all that messaging out. And we're working hard to try to coin what that looks like and create all of that. But just know 70% of pediatric burns in this state are scald burns from cooking.
From cooking, and a large majority is microwave?
The vast majority of that's microwave.
Because we've done a great job on our messaging of, turning your pot handles and protecting the stove, and we've done a great job with that. So you're saying that the next step is to really educate and really understand scald burns from microwave.
Yeah, so if you really think about it, and just think about your home life, you go look in your cupboard right now and you think about the ramen noodles, the macaroni and cheese, the cup of soup, all of those little servable bowls, a good majority of them are coming from those. And then, they're a lot of times they're overheating probably really. Mm-hmm. So it does take education in the home probably to change some of that, and I think the fire service can play a good role in that.
Yeah, I mean, we're the ones out there.
That's right.
We're in the street. We're out there talking with the people.
That's right. It's our job, right?
So don't miss an opportunity for the messaging. So can you give me like what a day at camp looks like?
Yeah, sure. So a day at camp. So typically our day staff will start early around 7 or 7:30. There'll usually be a fishing opportunity for one of the cabins, either the teens or the youth. So we have fishing pretty much every day, and it is really the hot spot. Those that know Al Nord, we call him Big Al. Al has been at every single camp.
Is that right?
And he's ran fishing at every single camp. So for 26 camps now, Big Al Nord, which he's retired from Myrtle Beach Fire, he's been running fishing at camp. So that's going to still go on this year. So we always start with some kind of fishing. So then we have a staff meet. Kind of plan our day, make sure everybody knows what the schedule looks like, and then we go into breakfast, and then, most of the mornings after breakfast are like round robin activities. It could be arts and crafts, it could be tie-dyeing shirts, it could be swimming in the pool, it could be riding horses. I mean, if you name it, anything that you can think of that's a camp activity, archery, if you can think of it, we probably do it. And we try to do those round robin style. We try to let them sign up for it. That way, they can pick the activities they really want to do. But sometimes, we try to push them out there to make them out of their comfort zone a little bit, to get to do the things that, they may not ever get to experience anywhere else. So we do a lot of that. We're going to have a fireworks show this year. We do have a local country music singer coming to come play for us on our campfire night when we're out there cooking s'mores. I don't know if it's good to say his name, but I'll leave that right there. But so we have lots of things coming on. Of course, we have a gym, and so, there's basketball and volleyball and, water slides. Anything that you can think of your mind that you would want to see at a camp, we have it there.
Now, I'll tell you, the camp's not easy to get to, no matter which way you're coming from.
No,
Eastover.
No.
Is it Eastover?
Yeah, it's Eastover.
Yeah, so I went some back roads that I had never been down. But then once you come down that road and it comes into view, you're like,
there it is.
This is pretty damn nice.
Yep. So Camp Cole, it's a unique place all in itself. They started in the middle of COVID, which is phenomenal in itself, and they've raised millions upon millions of dollars in the last several years. Brand new camp facilities, all state of the art, lots of corporate sponsorships there. Great facility. We're really looking forward to it. It's going to be amazing. I just went there a few weeks ago. They just opened their activity center, which is a gym, and so it's got like an art room and a stress room and a yoga room and a music room and a library.
So when we came up, they were just finishing that up.
Yep.
They were still finishing that up when we came up. First thing I noticed, well, I'll come back to the first thing I noticed, but then as I walk in and look, I see the pool in the back.
Yep.
But my guy, what he was most excited about was fishing.
Yep.
So the first thing I noticed was all the smiling faces that greet you when you drop off.
That's right.
So if you would, just talk a little bit about the team that puts this together.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've got the greatest team at the fund. We have a camp planning committee, which is made of several different people. And really we start camp planning almost as soon as camp's over. So usually we have camp in July or August, and so usually about October the planning will start again. But really in January we always usually have our first meeting in MUSC where we do a tour of the burn center and try to get that connect to purpose and get everybody back on board about, hey, this is what we're doing, this is why we're here. So the team is phenomenal. I don't know, I'm just a small part, really, Will. They do all of the work behind the scenes, anything from planning the meals and coordinating with catering to working with the fireworks vendors and getting all the permitting in place, ordering the shirts and water bottles and name tags and anything you can think of, creating the schedule, working with Camp Cole to hammer out all the things. In fact, I'm going to Camp Cole this week to do our final walkthrough before we get to our camp in July. But the team is just amazing. And these people are volunteering their time to do this, so that makes it even more special. But if you ever volunteered at your time, and I know there's lots of volunteers in your state, the most altruistic people you'll find are the volunteers in the world, the ones that are wanting to really give back and serve however they can. And these people, including myself, we're volunteering our time to help this really special population of people. And the dividends are huge. I've been a part well, really my whole career I've been collecting cans at my fire stations, but I had the opportunity to get on the board in 2010, and it's changed my life. I mean, just being around camp. I came from a pretty good background, and so I just didn't recognize some things.
Sure.
And camp has helped me recognize how fortunate my life has been, and how I can give back to help those that didn't have quite as fortunate life as I have.
And I'm sure if I put any of the volunteers up here and talk about it, they potentially would even get emotional. But so when I pulled up, I had maybe 6 people greet me, the vehicle.
Yep.
It was like valet.
Yep.
They got my camper's bags. They got him all set. They got him all signed in. Extremely hospitable to me and my son. They wanted to show us the different things, and we did that. And just the smiles on their faces and how excited they were to have the campers.
Yeah. Well, what you're seeing in those smiles, you're seeing an extension of their heart. They're really there. They want to serve. They want to serve those children. They want to serve those families. So when you see those smiles and you see that welcome, I mean, it's coming straight from their heart. Those are the best people. Really, some of the best people I know are tied to my work at the Burn Fund, and I mean, they're just incredible people. And I hope we always have that kind of welcoming attitude to anybody that comes to our camp, whether camper, sponsor, whatever you want it to be. But great people.
All right, so if you would tell the folks again how they can get involved, if they want to get involved, how they can donate if they want to donate.
Okay. So the easiest ways is probably, of course, we're in the world of technology, so you can go to our website, which is scbcf.org, South Carolina Burn Children's Fund.org, the initials, or you can come by our booth. There are ways to donate on our website. Our donation address is also on there if you wanted to mail us a check. If you wanted to get involved, our volunteer application links are on there, so we love to have people involved all the time. We do actually need a couple more male counselors for this cycle. I think we're looking for 2 more. So if there's anybody out there, especially if you're a nice, young, vibrant male that would want to come help some kids, please connect. So.
And I think if anybody's out there, or listening to this later and comes back to it, and you're not sure, you're on the fence, you don't know, I think if you just go there and get involved, it will be one of the best things you ever did in your life.
It'll change your life, absolutely, no doubt, without a doubt, it will change your life. It'll change the way you see the world.
And I see that impact on each of the guys that are involved. That I know, you, Malcolm, Ross, all just when the word camp comes up or the Burn Children Funds come up, and how passionate you are about it.
Yep. It's definitely life changing. It's like so many different things, but I can tell you point blank, some of the happiest times I've had have been there. Some of the saddest times I've had have been there as well. You see people age out, and you've watched these children for the last 10 years, and then they age out.
You got to say goodbye.
It's like you're leaving your own child. It is a unique set of emotions, but I'm so glad to be able to have that kind of connection with those children, and know that I was able to do a small part, know that the team was able to do that kind of work in their lives. And I mean, so many of them are going on to be successful, and you can see the impact. And when you talk to them, if you go to our website or if you stop by our booth, we have some videos playing, where campers return to counselors actually talk about the impact that camp has had to them. So that's available online, or it's at our booth if you want to swing by.
So everybody that I interviewed when we did the walk around, and people that I'd ask, okay, you get the most out of conference? What is it? And everybody talks about networking.
Yep.
I was extremely pleased when I talked to my camper on the trip up, is their networking, their connection, and one of some of the things that my camper was looking forward to is seeing the friends that he made that were going to be there. And then he was like, well, this one's not going to make it this weekend, but he'll be here this summer. And to the sad part is, one of his good friends, and I think one of the people that kind of mentored him, aged out.
Yep.
But I think they still stay in touch. So I think they're building relationships that will be forever.
Yep, agreed.
With y'all and with the campers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, the same thing. Just those relationships, they get to create a unique friend group with people that are similar to them. And I really believe that travels with them their whole life, because I mean, some of them, the effects of their burns are going to travel with them their whole life. So it may not just be as a child, as an adult. They may need to be able to pick up that phone or send the email or send the text to the person that they're really close friends with that they got at camp and say, hey, man, I need to talk through this. I can really see that happening, and I know it happens. So.
Yeah, and nobody really wants to be seen as abnormal.
That's correct.
You want to be normal, and there they can be normal.
Yep.
Which is awesome. In between camper to camper, they're normal.
Yep.
With the same struggles, and that's what the bond of firefighters is, because we have the same struggle, we know the same struggle, and they have that bond.
Well, when you talk to a lot of the kids, that's one of the things they'll tell you that they believe is special about camp, is that they arrive at camp and nobody sees them as different. They're just a kid. And whereas, in their school environment, it may not exist that way. Even among their family, it
Right.
may not exist that way. So we do try to create that environment where they're just there to have a good time. We're there to have a good time with them, and we want to support them.
Yeah, well, I've seen y'all. Y'all have as much fun as they do.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so if you're looking to get involved, Ryan told you how to get involved. If you don't really have the time, but you want your money to go to some good cause, this is it.
Yep.
This is a great cause. And I can't end this podcast without talking about this shirt here. So I don't know how well it shows up on camera. I'm sure you can see like the different things, but he has a Hawaiian shirt, Burn Children Fund, with flowers and everything on it, and it's an awesome shirt.
Yeah, so every year we try to do different themes at camp. So this year, I don't know, it's been several years back now, we had a luau theme for camp, and one of the things I was tasked with, you talk about doing work and camp planning in the background, we'll come up with a Hawaiian shirt for camp. So here's where we are. We had custom made shirts for everybody, and so it's been great. I still got mine. I'm wearing it today, so it's great. But it's an absolutely amazing thing. I've been involved in the fire service in South Carolina since 1991. In the extensions of the fire service in South Carolina, the Burn Children's Fund in our camp, I believe, is probably one of the best, absolutely, extensions of the fire service in the state. You get to see firefighters from all over the state working continuously to fund this program and to support these children. So we're one of the best things out there, and we'd love to have you involved.
Well, I sure appreciate everything you do for the kids and why you do it.
Yes, sir, Will. Yes,
so
sir.
Thank you. And we'll see y'all on our next session, which will be with Chief Jim Crawford.